everybody. Happy Women's Month. We're kicking off this incredible month of celebrations for a lot of things. I'm just so excited to just kick off this Wednesday in such good company. How are you guys doing?
Good, good. It's a beautiful day. It's the beginning of March. It's time to take a break from all the hard work we've done the past several months and accomplishment that we've done. So this is to us, Ileana, and to all the women that participated in this event. It was a lot of work. So thank you for all of that. And we kick off with this month with a beautiful book for Women's Month of stories and that we'll get into over the course of the month. But I'm just excited and blessed uh, just to be a part of it and to celebrate women and the voices of women and the stories of women. So I look forward to hearing Sandy's too, as you're here.
Yeah.
Welcome, Sandy.
And I'm I have the book. I mean, this is the proof, but I have the book in my hands. It launched today. So if you haven't already, go to our website. So it's unitedlatinas.com/book so that you can read more about it. You can learn about the incredible 17 authors that are included in this volume 2 book of Extraordinary Latinas. We're just so thrilled to kick it off today and like you say, Sandra, to be able to highlight the great work that Latinas are doing. There, I always hear we always hear that there are not enough Latinas in leadership positions, and I think this book showcases that is not true. There are actually a lot of great Latinas doing incredible work out there and have incredible stories to share on how they were able to carve their path, overcome stereotypes and barriers, but be able to accomplish such great impact for themselves, for their communities, and for everybody else that's following behind them. So we're definitely going to be seeing a lot of this throughout the month, a lot of throughout the stories, and then culminating in our great event on 323, which also, if you haven't signed up, sign up. You can find that event as well in our website and in all our social media platforms. So exciting. Hi, Maxine. Hi. Awesome. So, Sandy.
Hi, everyone. I'm so happy to be here. It's definitely an honor. I am always all about women empowerment. Like you said, there's so many brilliant and excelling, extraordinary Latinas out there. And it is so important that we take this month to celebrate our accomplishments, to celebrate what we bring to the table, to talk a little bit about what we can do to definitely grow and be more confident. So I'm definitely happy to be here with you all. I just to share a little bit about myself. So I'm an education advocate with experience in higher education administration. So I was with Arizona State University for almost 2 decades. And I am the founder and CEO of Strive Studio to empower women of color with career coaching to make sure that they thrive in their careers. And I also do career consulting to support organizations and their initiatives when it comes to employee engagement, diversity initiatives, and employee improvement programs. And in addition to that, I'm a community builder. So even though I left higher ed a year ago, I am now in Web3 and NFTs, this new innovative, revolutionary industry. I'm the proud Web3 ambassador and advisor for education and community for Jarritos, the legendary soft drink. So I'm sure many of you have heard or had a taco with a Jarritos, which, by the way, Mandarin is my favorite. Like our community knows that I'm Team Mandarin all the way. Ileana, are you? Excellent. So I get to build community now in this new industry, and I've always been a strong advocate for our Hispanic and Latino communities. So now I get to do this in a different industry. I'm also the proud radio show host of Web Tres Al Aire to educate our Spanish-speaking community about the industry and amplify the voices of Latino líderes and Hispanic leaders building and doing great and phenomenal work in the industry. And in addition to that, like I'm a proud board member of United Latinas, which is an excellent platform for all of us Latina women out there to definitely grow in more areas than just your career. So definitely encourage you to join us as members. But no, happy to be here. I am part of the Young and Empowered Women's Association here that started in the Phoenix area by one of our alum that I absolutely adore, Veronica. And yeah, so I'm here. I'm happy to share a little bit more about me. And I think one of the topics that we could kick it off, if you ladies agree, is imposter syndrome, right? Like how that affects us, what we need to do to overcome it. And just I thought that would be a great conversation to kick off this month, right? So
And I think it's a great topic because research says, and I think I've said this in the past month in different panels and things like that. Research says that more than 70% of people, not only women, like people in general, suffer of imposter syndrome sometime in their career. And it's funny because as we were editing the book and as I was reading like through all of the stories, all of the Latinas in this book, like you look at their careers and they're just like incredible. But then you read the stories and the deep like parts of the choices that they had to make, and they all reflect in some way or form suffering imposter syndrome. I know that I have
yeah.
more than once, and it can be paralyzing. It can be really, really, if you don't know that you have it or that you're going through it or that it is a thing, and that it happens to a lot of people, and that there's ways to overcome it. It can really like not be good.
Yeah, I mean, imposter syndrome doesn't discriminate, right? So even as we move up in our careers, we have this feeling that even though we have evident success, we're just not confident enough, or we don't feel like we deserve to be at that table in that position or whatnot. But it definitely is important for us to recognize, like you said, what is it? What are some of the things that we're experiencing? Like for me, for example, because of imposter syndrome, like in my career, I often felt like I wasn't ready for leadership roles. I would pass on applying for jobs. I felt like I didn't have everything that the job description entailed and that I wasn't good enough. I would also be intimidated by joining organizations. And at Arizona State University, we had the Commission on the Status of Women. We also had the Chicano Latino Faculty and Staff Association. And it took me some time to gain the courage to even attend or be members of that organization, because I didn't felt like I had what it took to belong. And, even with CLFSA, the Chicano Latino Faculty and Staff Association, which, by the way, I'm so honored that I got to serve as their 50th president at ASU. But I never even like went to my first initial meetings without a friend. Like I needed a friend who was Diana Aguirre, who's still a great friend of mine. But I remember saying, "Hey, vas conmigo, let's go together and I'll treat you to coffee, but I really want to go and see what they're about. And it seems really cool, everything they're doing." So it took that, for me to be brave enough to go into those spaces. But yeah, even in some meetings, when I was moving up and as director and leading operations for a college on the administrative side and leading centers, I would get intimidated meeting with all of these higher level university administrators. Like sometimes I was the only woman of color in those spaces. So yeah, imposter syndrome can definitely impact us in a couple of different ways, and it manifests in different ways for all of us. So I'm sure you ladies want to share a little bit of how it's been for you.
I think this is such a powerful topic that we need to talk about over and over again, because you brought up something that's proper. We don't feel we're deserving of being in that space. So let's dissect why that is. Why don't we feel innately just deserving of that? What do you think?
I think for the most part, it's like, and for me personally, I'm the first in my family to be in such high level roles. I was the first one to get a high school diploma, the first one to have a bachelor's, the first one to have a master's. And so I think like our upbringing has a lot to do with it. I think also, just being an immigrant and not being aware of opportunities or having like that confidence, right? Like our parents are so focused on different things while we're growing up. I remember bringing straight A's and my parents not even knowing what that meant, or not that they didn't care about education, but there was other priorities like helping my siblings get dinner, and just helping them. So I think it has to do a lot with our experiences. Even being a woman of color, as women, we're typically not the breadwinners or leaders or boss ladies like like we hear so often, right? So we see it more now. So in my culture, we're at home with families, we're being good wives, we're being great moms to our children, and we're helping doing the chores, and roles are changing, but all of that are some of the barriers or hurdles or misconceptions or myths that we bring with us, and so it's limiting.
Yeah,
And
yeah, for
I
sure.
think I think you mentioned something really important, and you sort of touched on it twice. Sometimes we don't realize that we are suffering from imposter syndrome. I think when it becomes evident, it's still paralyzing, and it's still like something that you need to figure out how to deal with. But at least when you're aware. I think the biggest issue, or the issue gets even amplified when we're not aware, right? And you were telling about your story about not joining organizations because why should I join, or what if I'm not at that level, or what if I don't have what it takes? Like I hear that all the time, right? And I even
Mhm.
remember like that's not for me, because I don't know, I've never done it before. Those people that are there are 3 4 levels above me. I don't
Mhm.
have what it takes, and that in a way is suffering from
Mhm.
imposter syndrome, because we don't value ourselves enough, because we go for these limiting beliefs, right? Like Maxine is sharing on the chat of who we are supposed to be, or who we believe we're supposed to be, versus who we really are.
Exactly. And even like with our culture, right? Like as we're moving up and we stay quiet as women when we're in spaces, like we're brought up to say, to respect our elders, to don't say anything if you don't have anything nice to say, and to work hard regardless if you're sick, or because it's a privilege to have a job. And so, coupled with all of that, and these feelings that you don't belong, it makes it hard, right, for us to acknowledge it and to overcome it. On the flip side, I like to think of the positive ways that we could use imposter syndrome, right? So for me, imposter syndrome, it has fueled the way that I approach things. So because I know that I get this sense of like fear and anxiety when I'm going into new spaces or when I'm meeting new people, I actually use that to motivate me to, one, be ready. So I make sure that I do my research on who I'm meeting with. I make sure that I read books on the topics that I'm going to be discussing. I make sure that I'm prepared and on time, to attend those meetings. I mean, sometimes I I find myself over preparing for things, but it's so important for all of you to know, for all the women to know, that you can actually use imposter syndrome for good, or imposter phenomenon, how some people refer to it, and help you be better, and help you recognize the things that are going to make those conversations or you advancing in a positive way and successful.
Yeah, for sure. I always think like when I first started networking and going out, and I always tell this story like I was like the only Latina in the space, and it's funny that you mentioned that. That I'm like, I went by myself, right? Because I didn't have anybody else when I had first moved down here. I didn't know anybody else just yet. But I think that it is such a good practice to go into a networking room and just work the room, just talk to everybody like a normal conversation, like heart to heart. Who are you? You know, and I think that that practice, consistently doing that, will help. Not that it will remove imposter syndrome, but it will help you get more comfortable with just having conversations with people, and seeing them for the beautiful human that they are versus this is somebody that I'm going to assume is in a higher position and authority over me somehow, right? I think we tend to think, especially as people of color, like we are less than. I think
Yeah.
that's still a construct in our brains where it's like when we see other people, we're like, oh, they must have everything together. They're this perfect person, and I'm less than. I haven't achieved much. So, and we talked, and Maxine and I talked about this when we did Cafecito. Is really taking note of our accomplishments, taking really understanding what it is that we bring to the table, really noting that and
Yeah.
using that to remind ourselves of, yeah, we've done a lot so far, and we are
Yeah.
the first most of the time in our families to even dare to pursue high level positions and entrepreneurship, and that is rarity in our communities, right? We don't have like families where like we have an entrepreneur family. Yes, gladly
Right.
there is some of those, but that is not the common majority in our communities. Um, so yeah.
It's Yeah, and you make a really good point, right? Like it's just so important for us to build that confidence, and networking is certainly a great way to build that. Being familiar on how to do your elevator speech, how to have an informal interview with someone that you admire, that you aspire to be like. And for me, like I practice quite a few things in order for me to do my best to overcome imposter syndrome. Like I said, it still pops up, but again, it fuels me to do good and be ready. But a few things that I can recommend is I read positive affirmations almost daily, right? I'm strong, I'm powerful, I'm impactful. I'm generous, I'm kind, I can achieve all things, right? I am more, right? Like we had in our conference. I keep track of my accomplishments in a document annually, and I have a template that I'm happy to share with anybody. But it's so important to, like you said, Sandra, to remind ourselves of our accomplishments, and sometimes we forget how amazing we are. We forget what we have brought to the table. I also highly recommend for people to have a portfolio of tangible evidence of your work, like your projects, like things that you received good grades on, your recommendation letters, the awards that you received. It's so good to look back on that. And of course, at ASU, I always saved thank you notes from students or colleagues or ASU leadership, so I can look back and remember, like, I made a difference. Like, even though I'm working hard and I had no life in many of these leadership roles, like, it meant something. It impacted someone's lives, right? Also, too, I read a lot. With the pandemic, we definitely had a shift and pivot, and diversity was at the forefront of everything that we did. And we had, the social and racial injustices that came up. And so I even felt unprepared to have those conversations. And so I joined a book club, with my son, and we had conversations with other leaders in universities about it. And so it's more to, I recommend to be prepared and just be ready to have those conversations on topics that will help you gain knowledge in areas that are unknown to you, so you're ready. And then I also align myself with leaders that inspire me, that I aspire to be like, right? You two are at the top of that list, and I'm so grateful and happy that I get to share, time with you all and learn and just really grow. And it's so important for us to identify who those people are, whether they're industry leaders, whether there's people that are making change globally or nationally or locally. So it's important to align yourself with people that have the values that you aspire to have. Another thing that really helped me, and I have it as an example on my Instagram, is, I did an exercise where I rewrote the labels that people have, that I have heard other people say about me. Meaning that I wrote down all the negative things that people would say about me, and I actually went in there and found positive words to describe me, that were facts, right? And it's so uplifting to take a look at yourself through that lens, because you remember the positive things and not these negative feelings that are untrue from other people that said about you that were not in your shoes. And then also, lastly, I lead by faith. I am a strong woman of faith. And so for me, I also pray because for me, I know that my Heavenly Father wouldn't put me in situations that would not help me grow. So one of my big non-negotiables is to set some time for myself. I can't express how much as a leader it's helped me making big decisions, and also just cultivating that good relationship with any staff that I worked with, any teams that I work with, or any partnerships that I collaborated with. Is just so important for you to find ways. And yeah, when I was nervous, I would be, my son calls it getting your Jesus on. So I would go get my Jesus on if I had a big important meeting or a presentation that I was like a little bit nervous. Even to when I was getting my master's, I would get so nervous, like doing interviews for things that I had to do for my practicum, going and asking for first to get accepted to a practicum, right? Look, and talking to different people. And so I would get nervous, I have never, like Sandra said, right? Like, we don't have other people that we could go to that have been there, that have done that. And so I would go and pray, I would go and pray about it. And I'm definitely not here alone. My Heavenly Father has a lot to do with my success. So those are just some of the things that I personally have done that have helped me to overcome and do my best to navigate this feeling of imposter syndrome.
I think you've mentioned a long list. I was taking notes that we could create just a blog around and
Yeah.
all of these great tips and that you shared with us. And I do want to highlight one in particular, which is about the network piece. In
Mm-hmm.
terms of being intentional about the strategic network that we build, right?
Yes.
Because it's not only about networking for the sake of networking,
Yeah.
which is good because you never know who you're going to meet, and that's actually how Sandra and I are here together, because we just met without any intention other than to know each other better. But building a strategic network can be critically important for us to be able to
Mm-hmm.
really go out of our comfort zone, do things that we would naturally not do, because we know that we have somebody there that can advocate for us, that can sponsor us, that can advise us, that have been there, done that, can share experiences, can open doors. And I think that's the difference between just networking to
Yeah.
having a strategic network. And that's one of the things that we are very, very intentional here in United
Mm-hmm.
Latinas to help build that strategic network, to help, bring people together that maybe they wouldn't come together, in any other situation, but they're able to now meet and feel comfortable, even for those introverts like me. But you feel that there's a safe space to be able to connect, with another United Latina that can help, and that you never know like what can come out of that
Yeah.
relationship. So
Yes, and that's such a beautiful thing, right? You both found each other because of the alignment that you had. So you definitely have to be intentional about the people that you surround yourself with, not only in the time that you invest in, right? Selecting those opportunities and those networking, events to go to. I do want to share, like, I definitely had imposter syndrome reaching out to you, Ileana. So the way that I actually connected with you was I ordered the book Extraordinary Latinas, and I was blown away by all of the phenomenal women that you featured. I started following you on LinkedIn, and I DM'd you, right? I sent you a direct message and I said, look, I'm such a fan of your work. Um, but I say this to share that we definitely have to go out of our comfort, but it goes a long way when you reach out to people that you aspire to be like. And I always tell this to other people, like, don't be intimidated because they're humans too. No matter what position, no matter what level they are, they're human just like you and I. And so there's always an opportunity to connect with others, especially because no one gets to where they're at alone. They had a mentor, they had a family, member to be there for them. They had a great friend. They just had those sponsors and people that really advocate for them. So I am truly grateful for all of the mentors that I had that showed me that I should be fearless, right, in everything that I do, and that I shouldn't let imposter syndrome be a barrier for my growth or my success. And that's one of the reasons why I reached out to you, and I was very, very happy and fortunate that you responded, and now I get to be part of this phenomenal network that is United Latinas. Even now, like being fearless and using imposter syndrome to fuel how I approach things, I get to work in Web3 and NFTs. Like, it's a new, revolutionary, innovative industry that's going to impact our daily lives. I mean, we've already seen how it has been in a lot of different shows. Starbucks is launching their digital collectibles. Like, I have the privilege to work with Jarritos, who does an extraordinary job to elevate my Mexican culture and building community in Web3. And so if I actually didn't even ever in my life think that I would not be with ASU a year ago. But I was very brave and working with business leaders that were doing things with a crypto hotel that's going to hit the Phoenix market here while I was at ASU. And, like, I could have been intimidated. I could have not reached out to him, but I saw, wow, that's a hotel that's coming into Phoenix. We have a tourism school here at ASU. That would be so cool to connect the students to this amazing, like, new hotel that's coming up. And I didn't even know about NFTs, but I knew crypto is a big thing, and it's like something very, very new to us. And being ASU and being how innovative we are, it was important for our students to get that glimpse. And so I did it. I messaged him at 4 a.m. in the morning, and I said, hey, Brian, that's great that you're the chief strategic officer for EV Hotels. I want to share some areas of opportunities. And one, make sure you offer internships. One, make sure you invite the meeting and events associates, because they're the decision makers for anybody that comes and travels to ASU. Make sure, that you have the CEOs connect with our tourism students. And that's what happened. And because of that, message at 4 a.m. on a Sunday, he responded within 5 minutes. I was able to work on programming for students in our tourism, and they connected with these amazing executives from this new hotel that's going to hit the Phoenix market. And with that, he gave me a whitelist to an NFT, and I had no idea what it was. I definitely felt silly not knowing the terms of whitelist and Discord and MetaMask, which is your digital wallet. And so that's how I started. I bought my first NFT on my last day at ASU. I immersed myself in this new industry. I started learning of the amazing, diverse opportunities that it offers us, especially, as women. It opens up new opportunities for us to invest. It opens up exclusive utility, because NFTs, they're not just art. It's not just digital art anymore. They come with benefits and access and events and musics. They're being used for real estate. They're being used for so many different things. And so now I get to be part of this amazing industry, elevating my Mexican culture and still building the Chicano Latino community.
This is awesome. And I love that story, because it's like you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, right? Yes. You wouldn't be where you are if you didn't just said, let me just send this email. Yeah. And that's how things happen. Imposter syndrome is just taking action. We will always feel it at some point, because I think it's just something structurally within us. But if we just take an action, and we just keep taking an action and just keep moving forward, we're gonna make progress. I always tell my coaching clients, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. The one who's making the most noise is going to get the attention regardless. Right? So if you're not making attention, if you're not making noise, you're not going to be seen, you're not going to be heard. And it is up to us to make sure that we're heard, because why are we going to, be 100 years old and live a life of regret? Man, we should have tried all of these things. Overcome. And that's one of the beautiful things about United Latinas and the U plus, right? It's you plus us, right? It's you plus other women. It's you plus this other person, right? It's connecting with
Mhm.
other women that have the same goal in mind, because you are the sum of our five, of your five, right? We are the sum of the people that we have around us. And if we will always feel imposter syndrome, if we go home to people that, and I'm not that this is a negative, right? But we need to have an environment of other people that are as ambitious as us, that are aspiring for things, so that we can feel like, yeah, man, we're in this together. We're going after things together. Because si voy para casa y nadie está haciendo nada and everybody is just, comfortable being and doing, and that doesn't align with your goals and aspirations, then you're just going to be feeling always imposter syndrome, because you're never going to feel good enough. But when you surround yourself with Latinas and other like-minded women that are like, go do that, go pursue that, here are the tools, here are the skill sets, here's the community, we can definitely, we are making noise. We're doing it today. We've done it for a while, but today even more so with celebrating. So that's awesome. That is so beautiful.
Well,
Yeah.
we've run out of time. We could just continue to have this conversation. I think it just gives to so much more. But we thank you so much, Sandy, for sharing your story, for giving us some great, great tips that I'm sure everybody that's watching will take. I know that I did. This is the kind of thing that you just need to remember again and again and again, because you never know where it hits you, and you need to be prepared, right, so that it doesn't drag you down. So thank you, Sandy, so much for being with us, for the work that you do, for supporting us at United Latinas as part of the board, because we're in it all together, like Sandra says, right? It's you, mas, and it's all of us together. Thank you,
Absolutely.
everybody.
Yeah, and thank you for having me. And I just want to just lastly, like briefly, I just want to say to the leaders, lead with empathy. Often we deal with things like imposter syndrome in silence, but support, encouragement, and caring goes a long way. And as individuals, we need to be good allies. We need to speak up against microaggressions. We need to support our peers, our ideas, and not be afraid to contribute to conversations and support them when we know who the experts are in the room and speak their names in those rooms. So let's be strong advocates. Thank you so much for having me here. It's an honor, definitely an honor to be part of the board and be part of this great membership and platform that helps us grow in so many ways, like I said earlier. So thank you.
Thank you. And tonight, we have one of our workshops with Oriana Falkowski. It's on building wealth confidently. So if you haven't signed up, do sign up on our events on our website. We have a tab that says events. You can find it there, or all our social media platforms. And then also sign up for our 323 event, our leadership summit. It's an incredible summit. We have most of the speakers from the book, and we have some other speakers also coming up to chat, to share their stories, to share tips, to get us empowered, to get us inspired. So also sign up for that one, and we're having new workshops coming up after that. So don't miss out on those as well. Any final words, Sandra?
I just want to thank you, Sandy, for a great cafecito, and I'm excited for today. And again, another reminder, because I'm just so excited for our book. Don't forget to check out our book and celebrate with us.
Yes, and
So
happy
that,
Women's Month.
and happy Women's Month, everybody. Take
Mil
care, guys.
abrazos.
Be well.
Bye.